Hey, so in the first video we talked about identity, of how your back pain stops being something that you feel and starts becoming who you are, and how that shapes the decisions and the actions that you take. Now we need to talk about how that identity shows up in your movement. Because if you believe that you're fragile, you will move like you are fragile. If you believe that your back is broken, you will move like there's something wrong. And if you believe one wrong bend could ruin your day, your body starts preparing for danger before you've even moved. And this is where a lot of people get trapped. And listen, I'm not saying that your structure isn't sore. Your structure is definitely sore. But a lot of people think that their movement limitation is coming from their anatomy. They think it's their disc, they think it's their spine, they think it's their joints, it's their posture, it's their core, it's their scan, it's their wear and tear. But I ask you to think about this. Why do two people have the same scans but they have different outcomes? This is a question I've always asked myself over the last 10 years of working with people just like you. Because that's what most people have been told, that their structure is the cause of the problem. But I want you to consider something different today. What if your movement limitation is just in how you've learned to move? What if your body has become so used to protecting that protecting has become your norm? Because I see this all the time. People who bend with fear, they lift with tension, they stand up holding their breath. They twist their spine like it's made of glass. They get out of the car carefully. They pick something off the floor like they're defusing a bomb. And I say that with kindness because I understand it. If movement has hurt before, of course your body tries to protect. That's normal. But here's the problem. When protection becomes your only strategy, it starts to cost you. Here's a simple way to understand it. Make a fist and clench it really, really tight. Really squeeze it and hold it there. At first it feels strong, controlled, protected. But imagine holding that fist all day. After a while, what happens? It starts to ache, it gets tired, it gets stiff, it becomes sensitive, and eventually even opening the hand can feel uncomfortable. Now there's nothing wrong with the hand. The problem was the constant gripping and holding, the constant tension, the constant protection. And that's what happens with so many backs. People brace, grip, clench, hold their breath, move like their spine is made of glass. And they think they're helping. They think they're doing the right thing. But the longer they hold that protective state, the more sensitive, tired, weak and fragile everything starts to feel. And that is the trap. Protection feels safe in the short term, but if protection becomes your whole life, it starts to steal your freedom. You lose ease, you lose strength, you lose confidence, you lose capacity. And the more you protect, the less you move. And the less you move, the weaker you feel. And the weaker you feel, the more fragile you feel too. And the more fragile you feel, the more you protect. Pain, fear, protection, avoidance, weakness, fragility, less confidence, more pain, and round and round and round it goes. And before long, bending, movement becomes a threat, lifting becomes dangerous, walking becomes this constant negotiation and a test, exercise becomes risky, playing with your kids becomes something you watch instead of join in with. And you think, see, my back is broken, but maybe it isn't broken. Maybe it's just being protected too much. And that's a completely different conversation. Because if it's broken, you're waiting for someone to fix you. But if it's protected, you can begin to retrain that. You can break that cycle. And that's the transformation that I want to show you today. From protection to potential. Because we need to move from my body can't do this to my body has learned to protect. From I need to avoid this to I need to relearn this with more trust and more confidence. And now I'm not saying force through pain. I'm not saying to ignore symptoms. And I'm not saying to be reckless. There's a big difference between respecting pain and fearing movement. And a lot of people are no longer respecting pain. They're living under the constant fear of it. So here's a simple thing for you to try. Take one normal movement today, whatever that is, bending, standing, sitting, reaching, walking, getting out of the car. Before you move, pause and ask yourself, am I bracing? Am I holding my breath? Am I clenching my body? Am I clenching my jaw, tightening my stomach? Am I already experiencing pain? And am I moving like my back is fragile? That's the first win, just noticing the protection, and then breathe out. Drop the shoulders, unclench the jaw, soften the belly, and send your body a different message. Not danger, brace, protect, but listen, we're okay here. We can explore this. And then move naturally. And ask, how can I trust my body more? Because the first bit of freedom often doesn't come from doing more and more and more and more. It comes from protecting less. Your back does not need to be held like a fist forever. It needs to learn how to open up again, to move naturally. So today, notice where you protect. Breathe out, soften, more trust. And if that makes sense, send me the word move, because your movement may not be broken. It may just be protected. And if it's protected, it can change. You can change. And in the next video, we'll talk about what makes this stuff last, because awareness is powerful, but awareness alone doesn't change your life. You need to take control.